Homeless beautiful beings, welcome to my space, my place. This is Notes of Naja Rashida. I am Naja Rashida, and welcome, wholeness to you all. So in this video, we're going to discuss materialism, and this kind of connects with my practice of minimalism, but I wanted to just kind of put this challenge out for you, for those of you who are trying to reestablish how you spend your money and become more mindful of that whole process. So, all right, so let's get started. Let's see. Materialism. This is a question that I am beginning to ask myself to keep myself on track as I am going through nitpicking every single item that I own. There's this Japanese lady or Korean, I'm not sure, she's come from Asia, but she wrote a book, and it's like this whole thing, like if you have an object that you own and you ask, does this bring me joy or does this not bring me joy, and you make two separate piles, right? So I'm doing something similar, not exactly like that, but 'tis the holiday season, and there are things that I need, right? There are things that I want to purchase, right? Now, I'm not to the extreme of making zero purchases. There are people out there, like I know eco-friendly, she'll do little challenges for herself where she'll practice something so extreme, like she refuses and she avoids buying anything for like a whole year or something, apart from foods and other expenses, but any like material thing. Then she'll practice cycling out clothes or recycling clothes. There's so many different and unique ways of practicing minimalism that I believe are healthy, but can also kind of be on the border of unhealthy depending on what your mental state and mindset is and your goal. But anyway, this question that I'm asking myself and that I'm going to share with you is, can I live without this item? Can I live without purchasing this item? And this is not an end-all life or death type of situation. This just kind of puts things into perspective of how great a need is. I've always had about 4 to 5 different categories you have of like how to organize my life, even with tasks. So I have urgent, priority, okay? So urgency, priority, a need, want, desire, okay? And and you can play with it, right? You can make a little chart, if you will, and you can just place, it could be material things, goals, tasks, anything that ties into your human experience on a day-to-day basis, or week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year, whatever you want to incorporate into your life. It's a great way to organize yourself. But with this question of can I live without it, this is something where if it's not an integral part of myself, regardless if it's like a beauty item or if it is a musical item, or if it has to do with anything for my music, or it has to do with something as far as my teaching career, or it has to do with something as far as my health, all of these things, it just over time, when you are practicing this, it makes your life more intentional. It gives your life direction and purpose. Instead of being emotional or caught up in the trends, caught up in the madness that is the illusion, right, of separation, right? That is a religion, by the way. That is a way, a lifestyle. To believe in the illusion of separation means that you view yourself as separate from the all, separate from the whole. So there will always be a hole, a void within yourself that will always need to be filled. And so in this way, we get in relationships that are unhealthy, we will impulse buy or emotional buy, we will spend and place our times, or spend money on certain hobbies that we know we don't love, it's not part of our heart calling. It puts things into perspective, right? And it really boils down to this. You start asking yourself, okay, then what is it that where do I want to put my hard-earned money and my energy and my time, right? Because for me, I have an interest in art. I like making meals at home. I like, or I love my music. I am in the middle of expanding on my teaching career, so going to grad school, and my health is very important. So these are different areas and spaces and places where it works for me. Like for example, I want to start incorporating making bread at home. I want to make my own bread. So I'm going to need to go out and spend the money to get those items, okay? If I can't find it at a thrift store. And I will, and for me, to someone else, bread making is like a waste, right? Like, oh my gosh, it doesn't fit my lifestyle. Or like, for example, I want to save up for a new guitar or a Celtic harp. So that's going to take money, but compared to someone else, it can deem as a waste. So you have to know who you are. You have to know your purpose. You have to know your why. You have to know what brings you joy. And whatever brings you joy is specifically designed for you, no one else. And what makes that experience so much better is when you can find someone else that has the same interests and they have that same level of joy and doing the same thing that you're doing. That's excellent. That's awesome when you can find a community. But if not, don't go out of your way or bend over backwards to try to seek validation by expanding on a collection. And there's nothing wrong with collections, right? I was talking with a group of friends last night about this, and we were the argument was, why would anyone want a collection of guns compared to like a collection of guitars or a collection of books or a collection of this or that? And that is so, we have to be very careful to not judge the interests of other people and what makes them tick, what makes it click for them. That is harsh, right? Just like some of you, I've had commenters on here that were pretty harsh with judging my practice of minimalism. And I've seen it on other minimalism channels as well. It's like, what is wrong with you? You're mentally ill. Like, why are you on here telling people what to do? I'm not telling anybody what to do. Okay, if you feel like someone's telling you telling you what to do with your life and you feel so obligated to share that complaint to the world, that's a you problem. When people tell me what to do and it doesn't vibe and it's not part of who I am, I'm gonna ignore it. I don't make it a big deal. But when people make things a big deal, when you're choosing to do things for you and it triggers them, that it's them. Don't take on that projection. Don't fall into that privy of or that space of, oh, I'm lacking. There's something wrong with me, right? There's something wrong here, and I need to go out and get this item so that I can look and fit something, right? And I have to fight with myself on a daily basis sometimes, depending on the time of month. Okay, because women, we tend to be more emotional, more vulnerable, and during certain times of the month, or like breakups or the stress of relationships, the stress of jobs, the stress of family members, or you have family members coming in town and they look like they have a nice looking car, they got nice looking clothes, they have a nice this and nice that. And this is the thing where I'm so happy this illusion is beginning to break. Finally, people are beginning to wake up. One thing I will say about the digital age that I am really, really very proud of as far as humanity, as ugly as the digital age is, there are some huge perks with this, which now that everyone is learning how to digitize their life, right, where they have some form of a digital device. Many people, even people who live off the grid or people who run their house via solar power, we all have access to a lot of information. And not only that, but we are also more and more well informed on how information is manipulated, how image is manipulated, how storylines are manipulated, how culture is manipulated, how political views are manipulated. And so now that the common man, right, the commonwealth we have this insight, right? And I'll use celebrities as an example of they're used to, the reason why they were so attractive for so long is because they were the superstar, and the star is attractive. The star draws you into its beauty, but when the star gets closer, right, it gets too hot, right? Because the star is a sun, and the sun is a star, and it's got to be at a certain distance for you to admire its beauty. But when it gets too hot, everything's revealed, right? And so with the celebrity culture, it's falling apart. Their illusion's falling apart because someone decided to give these people a mic. Someone decided to tell them it was okay to share everything about themselves. And so that has diluted the mystery. And when we dilute the mystery, when the mystery begins to melt, the illusion weakens. And so people aren't trapped and tricked like they used to be. As toxic as the digital age is, there are some perks. So I just wanted to make that very clear. So with that being said, it's like when people come to visit, like your family, and Uncle Bob has a brand new car, your cousin's got brand new sneakers, you're looking at your shoes or your hair or the type of jewelry or lack thereof that you have, and you feel weird about it. And but the thing is that can put your mind at rest. Don't believe the hype. My dad always said that. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. Okay? People who really put a lot of effort into image, they got most people, probably 80 to 85% of people have some deep core issues. You cannot, I don't believe in this age that we're in right now, you can hide behind materialism anymore, because everybody's got problems, everybody's got dysfunction, everybody's got some mental issues or emotional stuff that they're working on. And now that I've kind of come to the conclusion as a growing and evolving human being, one thing a practice that I have put into, I've incorporated into my life, because, there's a difference between looking wealthy and looking rich. And the difference between, this is me growing up, we're wealthy people, you don't know that they're wealthy. And when I say wealth, I mean generational wealth passed down from generation to generation. Rich people, it's new money, right? It's new. They flaunt. They're very flashy. You can tell how much money someone has just by the labels and the clothes that they wear, compared to a very wealthy, quiet. Quiet wealth is something. It is something that I respect. Okay, because you want to blend in, and that's something where I remind myself that when in my life where I would have like a surplus amount of money, I always try to kind of not look beat up or disheveled, okay, but more of living below your means and looking like it. I mean, be clean, be put together, but your materialism shouldn't be screaming out and telling everyone, hey, look at me, look at what I have. And there's a thing where people who are, either a little bit above the poverty line or at the poverty line or below the poverty line, they always have excessive amount of stuff. And I've noticed this in my travels. I've noticed this living in many different demographics, of living in someone's home that was $2.1 million compared to someone who, lived kind of like in the hood, Section 8, and it's just their home was full of crap. You know what I'm saying? It's living in a consumerist, capitalist, materialist culture that's very heavily focused on image now, more than ever before. It's just, I see the illusion so clearly, and so I sometimes have to check myself, right, and comparing myself and what I have and what I don't have. My philosophy is simplicity in all areas of my life. Why? Because life is already so freaking complex. It is complex, it is harsh, the only constant thing that I'm sure of in life is change and movement. Our age changes, our looks change, our weight changes, jobs change, relationships change constantly. Our children grow and they change. The weather changes. Like we're surrounded by change, and so with that, we have to be simple in our approach. I'm not telling you what to do. Find your vibe, find your tribe, do what resonates, right? I am not, this isn't like this is how it's supposed to be. I'm just speaking from my personal experience, and if you vibe with what I'm saying, by all means, take what I say, take 10% of what I say and throw the rest out. That's what my dad's always said to me. He's very, he's like the most important thing when people are talking, because he's a really big talker, okay? He is really big at talking. But he says, I know that usually people will only take 90% of what I say, right? Or I'm sorry, they only take 10% of what I say and then throw out the other 90%. And here you are, you're thinking you're saying something so profound, but it's about how people, how you make people feel. That's how what they remember. They remember how you made them feel, not about what you said, and usually not. I mean, it is about what you do, but what you do has an effect on how you make other people feel, right? So it is very important to keep that in mind. And so don't go seeking approval. It's really hard during the holidays, especially on Black Friday. I'm making this video during a Black Friday. And yes, this is my day off. I'm on vacation, so I have to go out and get some groceries. Okay? I gotta get some things, some items. Do I want to be out in the madness? I'm going to try to avoid the hot spots. But when you're shopping intentionally, you're not, it's okay. When you're shopping without intention and you're just willy-nilly, it's a very empty feeling, you know, constantly buying. And then you're like, why did I buy this later, right? So I'm getting back to where I was in a certain place a few years ago where I was very intentional with my shopping, very intentional with my clothes, and then I moved to a much colder climate, and so that's always a really huge adjustment for me, because living down south in the desert, it was just so easy. I didn't spend tons of money on clothes, man. Like, literally, if I had to spend money on anything, it would be shoes, you know what I'm saying? Because it didn't rain, it didn't hardly rained and it hardly snowed. It would get a bit chilly, but you just layer it up. But colder climates is like, you got to make sure, like, you know, either you invest in high quality wool or merino wool or, you know, fleece, or you have to spend a lot of money on a lot of cheap clothes so that you can layer up to keep warm. So it's like quality over quantity, and that is kind of where I'm at. Like, do you spend more money on these items, you know, or not? So I don't know. I'm figuring it out, moving things out of my space. And yeah, so may this message find you well and whole. And again, this is not an instructional video. This is just me sharing my personal philosophy and practice, and just I'm having you question your own materialism. And because we all have it, and we have to buy toilet paper to wipe our ass. Sorry, excuse my French. We have to wipe, or we have to purchase toilet paper to wipe our butt. Do you guys remember during COVID when COVID happened, and at the very beginning of the end of the world, right? And like all the toilet paper, all the TP just like disappeared. And I couldn't understand it, because it's like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me, okay, you can't come up with another way to wipe your ass? I'm sorry, wipe your butt? You know, like you take a washcloth and some soap. I just couldn't understand the shortage. I don't know. That was a weird phenomenon. And I was single at the time too, so during that debacle, which I'm happy. I am so happy I was. Oh my God. Whew. Because I could move around with ease. Very, very easily. when that had to be very difficult for many people to make certain judgment calls, because people were being laid off, or people couldn't get to work, or people, and if you have kids and you're married and you got to take all this stuff under consideration, then you can't see people, you can't go out to certain places. It was nuts for some. But anyway, that's all I wanted to, bring up and challenge you. Can you live without it? Can you live without this item that you're like, ooh, it catches your eye, and you have to ask yourself, okay, I can live without it. And then you end up saving money. You end up putting those monies in specific places where it's more of a payoff in the long run, right? Like eating out, I know what my favorite foods are, so when I'm grocery shopping, I get the material, that I need I get the ingredients that I need to make the meal, which lasts me much longer than going out to eat and spending $20 to $40. That's how much it costs to eat out now, at least in the Midwest. I know in other areas it's probably up to $50 now, depending on, because I don't like eating cheap chain. I don't eat at cheap chain restaurants. I don't. I avoid that like the plague. If I'm going to eat out, it's going to be at one of my favorite places to eat. I love Indian cuisine. I love Thai food. Any like Asian, Indian, Mediterranean. That's my stomach digests that with no problem. I don't run into any issues. But yeah, that's it. So just question yourself. Question your habit. It's challenging and difficult during the holy days or holidays, because everyone is like, oh, I'm going to get this for Christmas and that for Christmas and this for Christmas and that. Everyone just blows all their money. And then tax season is right around the corner. You see how the market plays you? You spend all your hard money and some of your savings on buying gifts, and then tax season comes around and you owe a little bit, right? Depending, because everyone's different, but why not save your hundreds or thousands of dollars, and then when your tax return comes in next season, you got a really nice nest egg to get you through the summer. I digress. All right, I'm trying to tell you what to do. I'm just giving you a different perspective. All right, see you, everybody. Bye.